However, along with these opportunities come challenges such as data privacy, algorithmic bias, and ethical considerations. As we explore the emerging trends in AI for industry, we will uncover these insights in how organizations can navigate this transformative landscape effectively, maximizing the benefits while mitigating the risk. Join us as we uncover the emerging trends in AI for industry, opportunities, and challenges.
It gives me immense pleasure to introduce to you our session chair, Dr. Rajeev Kamineni, a dynamic figure seamlessly merging academia, entrepreneurship, and literary expertise. As the academic director at the Academy of Deloitte, he spearheads AI-driven academic excellence at the University of Adelaide. Additionally, as associate head of accreditation at Adelaide Business School, his dedication to upholding the highest standards shines through. With a rich background in creative arts, management, and innovative management courses, Dr. Kamineni's influence spans from pioneering movie entrepreneurship to launching MBA programs. His visionary leadership extends to founding AI-centric bookstores, showcasing his commitment to advancing AI knowledge and innovation. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Kamineni. Welcome, sir.
Next up, we have Dr. Rituraj Kumar, an outstanding scientist at the Defense Research and Development Organization of Government of India and Director of Center for Artificial Intelligence and Robotics, joining us today. With a stellar academic background and nearly 3 decades of dedicated service, Dr. Rituraj's contribution to AI and robotics are unparalleled. His innovative research and leadership at the Center for Artificial Intelligence and Robotics have propelled advancement in defense technology, cybersecurity, and military communications. Beyond his professional achievements, Dr. Kumar's passion for sports and adventure underscores his dynamic personality and unwavering commitment to excellence. Please join me in the warm welcome of Dr. Rituraj Kumar.
Ladies and gentlemen, meet Professor Ambika Zutshi, a leading expert in environmental sciences, corporate social responsibility, and stakeholder relationships. With over 100 publications and a PhD in environmental management, her research has global impact, notably influencing G20 policy on COVID-19's effect on SMEs. Serving as an editor for prestigious journals and contributing to organizations like the Academy of Management, Professor Zutshi's work is shaping the future of business ethics and sustainability worldwide. Let's applaud her remarkable contributions to academia and policymaking. Please welcome Professor Zutshi.
Following Professor Ambika, we have another industry stalwart, Mr. L. Subrahmanyam, a visionary business and technology leader with over 3 decades of experience in driving digital innovation, currently serving as the head for digital services at Siemens Project Ventures. Mr. Subrahmanyam's expertise in AI-powered products and digital transformation has reshaped industries worldwide. His strategic acumen and leadership have been instrumental in establishing digital innovation and delivering transformative solutions in healthcare and beyond. Welcome, sir. Once again, I extend my warmest welcome to our esteemed speakers.
This session will be followed by a Q&A round for about 10 minutes. Hence, all are requested to be attentive and be prepared with questions. Now, without further ado, I welcome the chair, Dr. Kamineni, to set the context for the session. Sir, please.
Thank you. Thanks for introducing us very well, all 3 of us, all 4 of us. It's a great opportunity to chair this session. I was not supposed to chair this session. I became the chair of the session only 48 hours ago because the chair was traveling. So I thought, okay, now I feel like a little bit of an imposter over here because I have 3 geniuses sitting with me. One worked for ISRO and working for Siemens. One is DRDO, basketball player, marathon runner, IIT Delhi. And we have Professor Zutshi, whose policy and research has influenced G20. I'm just a humble filmmaker. So I don't have the creativeness of all these 3 people, but I can predict one thing, that AI will not replace my job. I'm sure of that. I'll tell you, start off with an example or a story. Have you heard about the strike which was in Hollywood? Hollywood writers and actors and technicians have gone on strike. Why did they go on strike? Can anyone tell me? Yes? deep fake. Okay. And AI, someone said AI? Yes. The writers apparently are worried that their jobs will be taken away by AI. They won't have any more careers to write stories, scripts, and screenplays because AI will replace them. They bought it onto themselves, Hollywood. If you go and look at the model of Hollywood and look at the Marvelization of movie making, I call it Marvelization because Marvel is dominating the movies. A Marvel movie can be made by artificial intelligence. Okay, I'll flip the question. How many of you watch Kannada movies? Few of you. Yes, we are in Karnataka, so I have to ask the question. Have you watched a movie called Kantara? Yes. Can you tell me if Kantara can be written by artificial intelligence? Absolutely. You have given my answer. So that's why my job is safe. So there are certain aspects of movie making, which is my industry, which can be replaced by artificial intelligence. That is, if you have a template like Marvel superheroes. But if you want to be creative and do a different story like Kantara, artificial intelligence can't do it. So that's my pitch. I'll start with that. The format for the session is each speaker will have about 15 minutes. They're free to take less or more. And after that, we'll sum it up and open for the audience for questions. I hope it's okay with you. So I am partial to Australia because I live there. So I'll start with my colleague from Australia. Okay. And from Queensland, which is my Professor Noel Lindsay's home state. So again, 2 strikes for Queensland. So Ambika, we should start first. Floor is yours.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. From all the way from Australia, of course, Brisbane. I come from Brisbane, so I'm coming from 30 degrees to then I landed in Delhi, and now I'm here. And tomorrow morning I go to Jammu. So a bit of a transformation, which I don't think AI can replace as well. Yes. So thank you for having me in very kind words, and thank you everyone for the hospitality. And I don't agree with you. I don't think Hollywood writers have learned from Bollywood writers, otherwise they won't be scared about getting replaced. You can't have all the dance sequences, even today, replaced by AI. So I think there is something unique in the Hollywood, I think the South one, I'm not sure what's Tollywood, the Indian movie industry as such. Sandalwood. We're in Sandalwood, okay. So we have been very blessed this morning to hear as part of the sessions from the eminent speakers from the industry and from the academia as well. So I'm not going to repeat a lot of that. Yes, AI is going to replace a lot of the jobs or parts of a jobs. But what I want to spend 5-7 minutes talking about is looking at some of the flip sides and some of the challenges and the risks that they have highlighted. But what is next? And what should we do as an individual, all sitting here, different parts of a career, different stages of a career, different backgrounds. I come from management, so I have no technical expertise. Don't ask me to explain anything. We have 2 very technical experts here for that. So I want to bring that human aspect that cannot be replaced by any technology, whether it is artificial intelligence or any of the incarnations, as I called, of artificial intelligence. Yes, there are ethical issues, the privacy issues that have been touched upon. We were given examples that AI is not something new. It's been there since 1950s and 60s. Even within the HR, human resources, recruitment, where AI has been very active globally, and many people as potential employees, as applicants, we have not realized that companies are using technology to screen our applications, to screen our CVs. They're looking for certain keywords. And I'm sure many of you would be aware in the room that in 2014, Amazon had actually launched for its own company an AI based software, which was to screen the applicants to be able to shortlist them. But within about 3 years, that was scrapped by Amazon itself because it realized that it was biasing towards certain gender orientation. As we know, any technology, especially AI, big data, all of machine learning, it relies on data. It will give you the output based on what's in the input. So the thousands and thousands of applications that had been fed by Amazon in the software, they were mostly dominated by male applicants. So the software thought, oh, males are better than females, so they should be the one given the priority for the job interviews, for the salary negotiations. Oh, come on, let's not go there now. What's wrong with that? And now we have, we have to be open to different gender orientation, different sexual orientations. So I think AI, it is what you tailor it, what it can be used, but you as an individual and companies equally have to be aware of it as well. And talking about the gender, and as those of you who have links in the UK, I'm sure you have read, I think about 6 months ago, if I don't have my time wrong, basically there's quite a few parents now, young parents, who have decided not to allocate a gender to the child when they're born. So they're basically saying there'll be no gender written male or female or any sexuality. The child will decide what is their preference. So, as an employer, as someone dealing with technology, as someone dealing with human, you need to be aware of those things. What you may or may not like it, your personal preferences is secondary. But in a professional setting, in the setting of the software, is when you're screening applicants, how do you screen those applicants? Because they would have the capability, may not have the preferred gender, for example. So, as I said, I don't want to talk about some of the challenges, but, what can we do as individuals and companies? As companies, and again, there are a lot of industry experts, and I would love to hear your perspectives as well. The question is, why? From my perspective, why do you want to adopt AI? Yes, AI has been part of almost all industry sectors at different levels, but why do we want it? What is it giving you? Are you implementing or adopting AI in your company just because everyone else is doing it, because your peers and competitors are doing it? If that is the reason, you will fail. Because you have to look, at the strategic advantage and ask the question, what problem, as we were told, ask the questions and train the system. The wording of the question is very important. What problem as a company, as a department, are you trying to solve by technology, whether it's AI or any other technology? So whatever data you're feeding. And whatever the problem that you're trying to solve, is it worth solving? Do you want to spend that time and energy? What value is it going to give it to you? Can that be done by something else, someone else? And again, thinking about technology, a lot of companies are now dealing with, do we buy certain softwares or do we build it? Again, that's the value proposition, very strategic, efficiency and effectiveness, which we talk about in management. So where is that? How we can do things better. So those who are especially qualitative researchers in the room, you will remember the 5 Ws and the H. Implement the same principles when you're looking and working with technology as well. What is it that we're trying to solve for who? What is the value orientation? So keeping that in mind, and again, moving towards the future, what can we do as individuals at different stages of a career and those starting the career as well? And what can the companies do? That integration, that balancing act that we all have to do. So from the human, from the individual perspective, I think one of the first thing you have to look at, as I said, what skills I need. Technical skills to a large extent can be taught. A lot of companies like Amazon, Google, Verizon, and even a lot of Indian companies, they no longer look at just your piece of paper as the degree. Because if they see the enough capacity, they know you can be taught the technical skill. It's the human soft skill, the stakeholder relationship, the communication aspect that cannot be taught. So there are a lot of companies who, when you go through multiple rounds of interview, they're not just looking at the technical aspect, they're actually looking, how do you deal with other people in the room? Do you open the door? Are you courteous? How do you actually treat, even if you cross a janitor, how did you, treat them? How do you treat waiters or anyone else junior? So they're looking at all those interactions as well. They're looking at your social media. There's Snapchat, Instagram. I know Facebook is nearly obsolete, more or less, LinkedIn. That's not just for networking and posting photos, but companies are looking, what are you posting about? Who are your friends? What do they do? And that has been happening for a number of years, even before AI was talked about. Even in the university sector, and I've had this experience in Australia, I'm sure other people here can attest, before someone was appointed in certain roles, their social media account was checked. The person was not informed, just to see what kind of posts they are doing, to avoid any scandal. So those are the things as an individual. Yes, you can learn about the technical aspect, but what are you communicating? Who are you communicating with? And so that's very, very important. That's something as one of the skills we need to develop. So even if as a technical expert, you are the topper, you have the best coding background, can you translate what you have done for a non-technical person? Because you will need to be able to sell what you have developed. You talked about the problem you're trying to solve. Can you solve that problem and communicate how it's going to work? So think about an airport. Most of us have flown from some part of the world, nationally or internationally. If you are asked to look at the movement of the people, build a program so that there are less delays, flight delays. So you're writing a software for that. If you're only looking at, the flight arrival and departure times, that's only one aspect. What about the movement of people? What about which stores are there located? How many people stop at that stores? How does that, impact? What is the aesthetics? What is the safety? AI cannot solve any of those problems. It's you as the program, you're writing, you're using your technical skills, mathematical skills, Java, Python, all those programs. You have to then look at the aspect, as I said, the airport movement, but also communicate that to the non-technical person. So having communication skill, having the big picture is equally important. So I was reading, and I've gone completely blank with one of the CEOs interview, and they talked about systems thinking. So those of you who have, again, the sciences background, especially the biology, zoology, it talks about the ecosystem, the systems, everyone is connected to one another. And they talk about that the future AI experts need to have that systems thinking to look at different interconnections and the impact. Again, thinking of the benefits of AI and the technology, I'm using AI as a generic word. And, this may sound a little bit, cheesy, but we all have read, at the example, we all are aware of Ramayana and Mahabharata as, the top two Indian, not just cultures, but in learnings, we learn a lot from them, different part of the life, and other religions as well. So think about, and this I'm now going to the, film industry or the movie industry, they make serials, the TV serials or movies based on these scriptures. And in those scriptures, you see there's a flying chariot. There are, there's fighting going on between the good and the evil. There's arrows with all these colors. Yes, that is, to appeal us as audience. But to me, a lot of what they are showing was written in the scriptures, which was written, 10,000, 5,000 years ago in the languages that we can't understand anymore. The technology is actually helping us to now translate. And again, I've gone blank with someone can help me with the name of the founder of Ola in India. He is the one who has actually took up the challenge which was given last year in 2023 to India by a US person that you cannot start an AI, India cannot lead AI, ChatGPT equivalent. And he has actually launched a program which is translating languages, multiple languages, because India, like some of the European countries, has that challenge of multiple official languages, 16, 19,000 dialects, and the different contexts as well. So he is using the software now. He's taken up the challenge to translate all of that. So technology can have a lot of benefits as well. And the last thing I'll finish on is we talked a lot about generative AI today, but as a company, as individuals thinking 5 years ahead, think of more forecasting and predictive type, technologies as well. To me, I think generative AI is getting there, but it's already halfway through the journey. I will stop there. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ambika. That was very interesting. You looked at it from a non-technical perspective, which is very relevant because we are in a business school setting. So we should give multi-dimensional approach to artificial intelligence. Thanks for that. We will come back to you again with questions. Next, the speaker on the panel is Dr. Rituraj. When I read his brief bio, I thought, how can one man do so many things? And he's a marathoner. He runs marathons and he's a basketball player. And in his spare time, he's also director at DRDO. So, and also very, very important Center for Artificial Intelligence and Robotics. And all of us in this room know the significant pioneering work which DRDO does. And I didn't know that they have a center dedicated for artificial intelligence until a few days ago. So it's I'm very impressed with the fact that Dr. Rituraj is going to share these experiences with us.
Thank you, Professor. And thanks to Professor Bhatta. Can't say no to him. So when he invited me to speak to a set of people who are from management background, I was rather worried, what should I communicate with respect to AI? Because that's as we know, there's a notion of deep tech, and AI and cognitive sciences are one of the areas of deep tech. So what comes in deep tech, how is it relevant for a management school? But the reality is that a lot of you would potentially be part of deep tech moving out from here. So in that sense, it is relevant. And the second is that AI and cognitive sciences are already and increasingly would impact our personal lives. And therefore, to have an understanding of what it is and how it is pervading our life is important. So there are things that I would say which is not to scare anything or to be a pessimist, but I think the human civilization by and large is going to embark on a co-evolution journey with technology. And that's a very significant aspect of how evolutionary dynamics happen. Most species have evolved in response to natural phenomena, traditionally. If you look at the history of our planet, evolution has been governed by ecology, by the biosphere. We are reaching a point where technology has the potential to become instrumental in evolution. And AI and cognitive sciences are going to be leading that show. So that's the first and the foremost aspect of understanding that when we look at the social context of AI, it's a co-evolution problem. Any co-evolution by definition technically is called a second order dynamics. So a second order dynamics by its very definition is not something that you decide that I'm going to script the future. Linear systems can be scripted for the future. Non-linear systems cannot be scripted for the future. They're just too complicated to predict. And therefore, the co-evolution of humans with technology, in my judgment, is a classic example of a second order dynamic. We have embarked on a journey, and therefore, this generation, the following generation, and the generations to follow will have to continuously take a call on the direction that this coevolution takes. It's not a journey that will get scripted today by anyone, by any expert. The second aspect about this coevolution is that a lot of people talk about building controls. Now, let us be very clear that you can have cooperative elements, good elements, deciding to exercise control. You cannot enforce that the rogue elements in society will also exercise control on themselves. And that has historically been the case. And when it comes to technology, therefore, and if a technology has the potential of giving you a winning advantage, if you used it wrongly, then there would be elements who would use technology outside the regimes of control. And therefore, control by and large is nothing more than a denial of service on yourself. It doesn't change the course of history. And in that sense, as we move into this coevolution, it would be important to understand that while we make controls so that the good guys decide cooperatively what should be done and what should not be done, but by the same token, to have capabilities in place that can counter the rogue element who try to use the same technology would be equally important. You can't have a benign world and hope that this coevolution would evolve in a benign world. Now, with that as the context, within about 10 minutes, I decided to jot down 5 points which are on the boundary of AI and security. Because AI in many ways is being spoken and generally referred to in the context of what it can do, what it cannot do. Let's hope that humans would be better than AI. Let's hope that humans will be in control. How does jobs get protected? That's the normal conversation around AI. But how does AI impact security is the crux of what I want to talk about. And because there are so many dimensions of AI, so within the 10 minutes that I have, I would touch upon 5 aspects of AI and security. The first aspect, and I have just nomenclatured, is that how do you trust AI? Now, let us understand that any learning system learns from what it observes. It's based on data. It's like a newborn child. The child is born with practically no knowledge. And then there is a period up to the age of maybe 20 and beyond where they are learning based on what they see, what they experience. And therefore, you have films. You have a film producer which are rated based on age, based on the content that they have. Why is that required? Because you want to control what you expose to a learning system. So essentially, from a security perspective, data is always assumed to be in adversarial control. And data is something that is deciding how your system functions. So in principle, an uncontrolled situation in machine learning would be one where the adversary decides what the machine would learn. Now, imagine a situation in a world where AI is going to come in. Either it comes in because of policy, it will come in because of business opportunity, it will come in because the rogue element has it, and therefore I need to have it. How do you guarantee that you have not played into the hands of the adversary? Because the data that is used for learning is a data that could be colored by the enemy. The enemy need not be across the border. The enemies could be within the society. Enemies could be people who do not believe in a particular social structure. Enemies could be just about anyone. So therefore, how does this data impact learning? And therefore, what is it that we can do from a technological, social perspective in order to create the pre-filters to determine what does AI learn and what it should not learn? This is the first security problem that we have. This is the real security problem. The second is the security problem that AI has given the tools for humans in which we can no longer have a belief system on authenticity. The fact that all of you believe that I'm a real person, Ambika and professors are real people, is because your senses tell you that we are real. This could be a screen with deep fakes running, correct? You don't know, you haven't touched us. So authenticity in human life is based, we have cognitively evolved to trust what we see, what we hear. And if that appears logical, we believe what is in front of us is authentic. Deep fakes are becoming troubling as an example because they question human judgment with respect to authenticity. Now, as technology improves, the deep fakes would improve. As deep fakes improve, how can we have anything as authentic transaction? And therefore, the future with respect to businesses, which is based on the notion of authenticity and trust, how do you reestablish that in the domain of AI? And that would be a challenge. I have just used the example of deep fakes. The concept of deep fakes is getting permeated very deeply with respect to contracting. You cannot trust it. You cannot trust your email. You cannot trust your social media. You cannot trust anything. Now, how do you establish, therefore, a business transaction? This would be the second thing in the future. How do you establish authenticity? The third thing is that AI is very often used, as Ambika mentioned, to create what are called classifiers. So Amazon created it, as she mentioned, to decide which CV to take in, which CV not to take in. That's a classifier. Now, when it comes to AI and especially deep learning, there are techniques by which a small amount of noise can be added by an adversary, which can completely throw the classifier apart. And you have no way to decide that. So I don't have a presentation right now, but say, for example, you have trained AI to classify, say, an animal and a car. So as the pictures come in, it will tell you whether it's an animal and a car. And at the end of it, it can give you a count how many pictures of animals versus how many pictures of cars. Now, there are intelligent ways by which you can add noise to the picture of cars so that they get classified as animals. To a human, that image will still look like the picture of a car, but to an AI classifier, he may misclassify it. So this is called adversarial noise injection. And this is a well-known attack on AI. Now, if this attack exists, this was the essence of the Amazon attack. And a lot of people must have heard how to earn money out of YouTube and Google ads, right? What is it that those guys are teaching you? Those guys are teaching you that you have a page ranking algorithm running in Google. How do you bring in content and keywords and metadata that would give you a higher ranking in the page ranking system of Google, which is continuously evolving to beat this, but how can you beat that still? That's the essence of Google Ads revenue. So therefore, this is a continuous problem. How do you break the challenge of coming to the classifiers? The fourth problem from a security perspective in AI is that the output of AI, how do you believe it? You can't ask an intelligent system, how did you come to this answer? So the AI that as a concept, say, for example, as a human, we say we have a gut feeling which we cannot explain. Correct? Which means that if it is something that it is not a formal learning, but it is experiential learning, which means it has been learned over a lifetime of experience, you cannot say why your grandfather was suggesting that you should not do this or do that. He has no answer to that. It's experiential learning. Machine learning is another example of experiential learning. You can't go ahead and ask a machine learning system, why did you come up with that answer? Now, as a human, therefore, how do you trust that judgment? And that judgment is being used all around you. Whether you get a bank loan or not is decided by a machine learning algorithm. Your CIBIL score is a machine learning algorithm which decides what should be the credit limit of your credit card. These things are already there all around us. So I was denied a home loan because the CIBIL score was manipulated by some entity. I had to fight a battle with CIBIL for close to 1 year to get my CIBIL score sorted out. They were masquerading. So therefore, these things are all around us. So how do you trust a machine learning system when some critical decisions are being taken by machine learning? And the final point that I would like to do is that machine learning is being used increasingly to create individual, organizational, and demographic understandings based on population scale data. As humans, an average human has always believed that being anonymous, being part of the crowd, is a survival strategy. Historically, humans have evolved that way. In every society, it doesn't matter whether you're part of a developed world or a not so developed world. Anonymity, being part of the herd, and many ways to describe it, has been one of the survival strategies. Now, with population scale data at a global level being available, and with the capability of machine learning to discern demographic, organizational, human traits and behaviors, and get into specific targeting, which is right now masqueraded in the context of marketing, but would go beyond that definitely, is a huge risk to the human population. And therefore, as we venture into this journey of coevolution, I feel that it is important to understand that this is going to be part of our future. This is not going to go away. How should we evolve our intellect to safeguard certain interests of individuals, of families, and societies? I think would be the crux of being able to manage the transformation that AI brings to each one of our lives, and to say management students who are going to step into deep technologies in the future. I think this is the crux. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Rituraj. It's very interesting to listen to you, because when the first time we put a movie trailer on YouTube, the target I gave my marketing team was to get 1 million views. As you're saying, we can manipulate the views, or there is a system to today 1 million views. I think lots of 16, 18-year-old kids get 1 million views on YouTube. I mean, 25, 30 million, 100 million is the target now. And also you mentioned about the CIBIL score. In all our lives, when we want a home loan, we get rejected. When we don't want any loan, people chase us for loans. So I think the CIBIL score is it's someone deciding a score not based on your ability or your real income potential, but by a system which is set up to mostly fail people rather than succeed. Thank you. So we'll come back to questions for Dr. Rituraj. Please note down some points. We have an expert panel. From DRDO, we're going to an expertise in ISRO. From ISRO, now Mr. Subrahmanyam is now the Senior Vice President R&D at Siemens, but before that, he had a very long stint at ISRO. So I think students should consider yourself lucky that you have experts from DRDO and ISRO, two of the jewels of India in terms of research and technology, and all of us agree on that. So I think that deserves a round of applause. And the floor is yours, Mr. Subrahmanyam.
Good afternoon, everybody. So, it's first of all, thank you, Dr. Bhatta, and then for inviting me here. And then I would like to share some few thoughts on. I'll be a little bit more optimistic. I will be restricting myself to the healthcare world because that's where I come from. So, and when I see the topic, it's basically what challenges we have and what opportunities. And then for me, technology is a requirement, whatever it brings along with it. So it comes with a lot of baggage, but is it required? I would like to share some thoughts, and then we can decide jointly whether it is required or not, and how it is going to shape our future. So I'm put it in a simple words, how do we shape the future of the healthcare? And I come from a company. The purpose is to provide healthcare for everyone and everywhere. That's the purpose. And if you want to meet that purpose, today's technologies are not enough. As simple as that. So we need something more. Is artificial intelligence is going to be the answer for that? We do not know, but it is a hope. And I would like to be on that optimistic note. So I will list down some of the challenges what I encounter, and then we all encounter. So let me put basically what is the real challenge of worldwide health. India also falls into that. Fundamentally, whatever part of the world we live in, it's affordability. If a person falls sick, sometimes the family becomes bankrupt. That's where you are, basically. Whether you live in the United States or you live in Australia, you live in India, it's a problem. It's not affordable. Am I audible? It's not affordable. And so we needed to reduce the cost. Expensive. And then so we need to reduce the cost. How do we do it? And then we will explore some of those opportunities. So all those management graduates who are going to come out of this institute will have a lot of opportunities to see how we can become an entrepreneurs. If you can reduce the cost of the healthcare, you will become the next Mark Zuckerberg. There is no denial about it. Too much opportunities available. The next biggest challenge is the accessibility. Even though it is affordable, sometimes it is not accessible. So in our world, we put it in a simple way, where you are living should not determine how long you live. If I'm living in a place where it is not accessible, I should not be dying. How do I bring in this? So this is where the challenge for us, basically, how do we really bring in to everyone and everywhere? I think now I connected the purpose to the real human beings, because we're all, and then I also give you some quotes of that particular thing. And then let's say it is affordable, somewhere it is accessible, then the equality of the healthcare. Should a rich person get better healthcare than a poor person? So the quality of the healthcare. So the digitalization or artificial intelligence does not differentiate a poor man versus a rich man, or a poor lady with a rich lady. It only looks at the data as it is. So we need to say that the cost, the accessibility, and the third dimension is the quality. It has to be same. To bring in the quality, the expert will use the artificial intelligence in a different way, whereas the novice person, the young doctor, if he takes this expertise, then he can as good as an expert. So this is how we see it. So this is where the benefits of solving this iron triangle. Why call it as an iron triangle? If you pull one, if it is somehow accessible, it is not affordable. And if it is affordable and accessible, somehow the quality gets impacted. So if you want to move any of these parameters, other two are really, really getting affected. In order to solve this, we are chasing these technologies. We are really looking for these technologies. And we believe, strongly believe that this mining of the huge data from all of us worldwide. Remove these biases. There will be biases because if it is a white man, the treatment will be different to a black man. I mean, that's the bias because that's how we train our models, because the data which we get, the output, it becomes like that. So having said that, if we can remove these biases and then ensure that we have an equality, and then the digitalization also gives you us that particular equality amongst the races and people. And I will just give you an example. Basically, each one of us is unique. I mean, we have 8 billion people. Some of these challenges, why I'm saying all these things is basically that we are 8 billion people worldwide. And to reach out to these 8 billion, imagine persons basically sitting in remote places of the Bihar, and then a person sitting in Bangalore. There is a lot of quality difference that comes in the healthcare world. So we needed to reach out all this to 8 billion people, and where the ratio of the doctors with the population that is continuously diminishing, whereas the expansion of the population is continuously going up. So we needed to solve this particular problem. And then the second biggest challenge in this whole process is that we consider everybody as equal when it comes to the treatment, even though individually we react to different medicines in different way. So if you go to any doctor and then sometimes he will say that, I mean, I get a fever, he will just give you a paracetamol. Take it. I have no idea whether that is a real treatment for the particular person, basically. Does it require a paracetamol or something else? How do you know? He just gives it to you, and then we believe in that. And then, but when it comes to our reaction to that particular medicine, it could be different. So how do we make personalized medicine? If I'm an individual, I require a personal medicine rather than a generic medicine. So this is where the understanding of our own selves, basically through the artificial intelligence, and then tells you that you as an individual needs this medicine. And that too, if I just put my symptoms there, and let's say I go to ATM machine and I put my symptoms there, can I get a medicine out of that? You get a cash now to ATMs. Why don't I get a medicine from there? I put all type of that. Just to give you an examples of how can you make personalized medicine. But that also comes with the regulatory challenges. There has to be a regulatory framework to this whole process, basically. That means what? We need to have confidence in that particular stuff. How do you bring in that confidence? So we are talking about precision medicine along with artificial intelligence. So if we can train our models, the huge data, and then this is where I'm very excited when generative AI is coming, saying that with the billions of data, if it is trained, parameters are taken, and then all these large language models can give us this process, and then going towards the AGIs. And if we can get this kind of a precise medicine. And today, even to diagnose a person, the radiologists are very, very occupied. And I tell you that I'm personally dealing with a problem in the United Kingdom, wherein the radiologist is reading a data which is 3 months back. That means what? The scan has happened 3 months back. We don't know whether the person is going to be alive next, but there is no choice for them. And then so they are waiting for this particular person to read the data and then tell to the surgeon that this is the problem. So we are waiting. And then if some AI can tell that this person is normal and this person is abnormal, and only the radiologist gets the abnormal as a priority, then what happens is basically that at least you save some lives. This is as simple as that. How do we use these new technologies to classify different categories of the person? Because most of them could be just going for predictive or what we call it as basically the health checkups. Thousands and thousands of people go to the health checkups, and then 90% of them normal, 10% are abnormal, but the radiologist has no clue which is normal and which is abnormal. He just takes the patient data in a line. So if you are an entrepreneur, budding an entrepreneur, if you can solve this particular problem, saying that this is the normal patient, you will become a billionaire. Just looking at this chest X-ray, if you say that I do not have the COVID, you will become a billionaire. That's the opportunity today. Because we do not know how many lungs got affected during the COVID time. We all believe that the COVID has come and gone, but we really do not know what is the impact on the worldwide population. So these are some of the opportunities, and then we are looking at the millions of patients not being treated. And I strongly believe that this artificial intelligence is one of the ways to solve this kind of a problem. Giving the access to the world. And then I come to the elective surgeries and the patient surgery using the artificial intelligence, using the what we call it as the precision therapy. I talk about the precision medicine to diagnose for a particular person, coming with the real cause, quality not being sacrificed, rich man, poor man not being differentiated, and the artificial intelligence does not know who is rich and who is poor. And then how do we come to robotic assisted surgeries? So robotic assisted surgery requires definitely this artificial intelligence. So this is where we are seeing opportunities where the robots can be trained so that the doctor's requirement keeps coming down, because the population is increasing. Proportionately, the number of doctors are not coming. And this is where we need these technologies. We need these kind of different methods to ensure the iron triangle problem is solved: affordability, accessibility, and quality. In that, the data plays a vital role so that the biases are removed. And I will close this whole thing where we are working is called a digital twin. A twin is that you carry that along with you since birth. And if it can be trained to grow along with you over a period of time till you reach the grave. So that means what basically the twin grows, and then you will be understanding basically the entire your own human anatomy along with that, and then you don't need to carry anything. Your twin will get all kinds of simulations on you. Before a medicine can be given to that particular person, you experiment on the twin whether that really solves, rather than giving the treatment and finding out the answer that it did not solve. So, and twin for not only for the person, can we do a twin for the clinical workflow itself? That means that the patient comes in, the patient goes out. Today, no hospital can tell you how much it really costs you. So if I can experiment and then say that this is exactly the amount of the stay this person will be having it, so that we all get benefited in that particular process to know exactly when the person gets discharged. A twin for processes, a twin for all of us, and a twin for understanding that how to even put a person in a scanner machine, basically. Imagine that a child as well as a fat guy comes in, and then for setting up the particular machine itself takes a lot of time. And if it automatically adjusts using artificial intelligence, looking at the person body, that it is a baby or it is a fat guy coming there, the machine output suddenly increases. That's how the hospital can reduce its cost. It can take more patients input. So there are many, many opportunities. And then young entrepreneurs, I think the world is unlimited for all of us. So open for questions.
Thank you, Mr. Subrahmanyam. That's very interesting. You mentioned about the iron triangle. I have both my parents are medical doctors, and when I was a teenager, I went to Chennai to pick up the first color endoscopy unit for my dad's practice. And that time, unfortunately, Siemens quoted high, Toshiba quoted low, so we went with Toshiba. So sorry, but I went to collect the machine, and in a smaller town, now it's a smaller city, the way it transformed the medical care facilities is amazing. I saw it firsthand. I was probably about 15 or 16 years when I went and collected that machine and came. And that's the accessibility part. Today, my brother-in-law, my sister's husband, he works on telemedicine. So in Australia, there are several remote indigenous communities who do not have access to primary health care. So he provides telemedicine to them, and he provides consultation to them through telehealth.
Yeah,
And
that's where I said, where you live should not determine how you live.
Absolutely. So that point resonates very well with me. So what healthcare you access should not be judged or determined by the fact of where you live. So thanks for that. So all the three experts on the panel have spoken, and if now I don't know whether there's a mic. Yeah, there's a mic going around. So if you have any questions, can you please start? There's a first question from Mr. Dr. Sriram Murthy over there. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. This is more a comment than a question. While we study AI solutions for different problems, one pattern that I see emerging is in different parts of the world. The answers to the questions of the future may lie in the past. So I'll want to give a concrete example of that. One of the entities that we are currently building is at the intersection of AI with Ayurveda. So as we studied, I went and studied from Ayurveda acharyas on what are their models of physiology, what are their models of the mind, how are diseases of the body connected with the diseases of the mind. There's a whole body of knowledge. Similarly, in acupuncture, it's not specific to one geography. But as we see more into it, I see some parts of the iron triangle being addressed there. So, one of the things is that there is, let's say, for many things, not for serious diseases, but for many things related to wellness, if not sickness, there are remedies which are accessible. Wherever you are living, there's local food, local herbs, local, supplies. Affordability has been anyway a way that the system was designed from the beginning on I'm not talking about how well practitioners are bringing in the affordability, but the ingredients that go into care, etc., the costing, etc., is a very different thing. Quality, of course, needs to be looked at. Iron triangle, like you said, if you address two of them, one of them gets stretched. But in short, our sort of insight has been that it is, many of these systems, traditional systems, are rule-based. And one needs to invest into collecting data for them. But if you do a good job there of data collection and rules, AI can, combined with the traditional knowledge systems, provide answers that we don't have today. I just wanted to say that in the context of the healthcare.
Thank you, Dr. Thank you. Yes.
My question is to both Rituraj and Subrahmanyam. To Rituraj is with this AI, how is the future warfare is going to look? What is going to happen? Are the soldiers going to be replaced? Are the tanks going to be replaced? What exactly, maybe 10 years from now, 20 years from now, 30 years from now, how will be the wars fought? Are we going to reimagine entire battlefield situation? That is for Rituraj, and from Subrahmanyam, this healthcare being augmented or being supported by AI, what happens to accountability? If somebody maneuvers the system and the diagnosis is wrong or the treatment is wrong, who becomes accountable? And if tomorrow many of the medical care specialists are being replaced by AI, if at all, and what will become accountability? What will become the legal system? Who will be taken to the court of law? And how exactly the whole system works? What exactly is going to be the future of healthcare with AI taking the principal role in that, in whatever order you want to answer? Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Bhatta. We'll ask Dr. Rituraj to answer first and then Mr. Subrahmanyam.
We all have had a brush with computers in our personal lives, right? Sometimes the computer is not working, the net is not working. So I think the information technology revolution that was, in a sense, originated by Bill Gates, I think he deserves a Nobel Peace Prize. So, so the more information technology and the more intelligence that gets added onto it, so we'll be continuously updating our software, our hardware, waiting for services to happen. That's one way to look at it. But on a more serious note, as I was mentioning about the co-evolutions, so one part is how does the human society and the human individual become smarter because of this co-evolution with technology? And the other aspect is how does man-machine teaming start? So whether it comes into the civilian space or the military space, the intelligence would not just be limited to developing systems that can support humans, but developing systems that can supplement humans in specific roles, developing systems that can cooperate with humans in regions where humans are also operating. And I think to a certain extent, what was mentioned about healthcare is a classic example of, say, for example, supplementing a healthcare provider with an intelligent system. The point that was mentioned regarding Ayurveda is another classic example. So say, for example, just taking the point of Ayurveda itself, Ayurveda has a notion of Nadi Vidya, wherein a really good trained practitioner of Ayurveda can touch your vein for 10 seconds and give you a life story from a medical perspective. It's actually intriguing that healthcare industry, including Siemens, hasn't invested in machine learning based on Nadi Vidya. In 10 seconds, you can actually get that done. Or at least answer the question that it can't have been done. If Ayurveda claims Nadi Vidya is there, then let's have machine learning. You could have a wristband, a smartwatch like this one, connected to an AI system that's giving you everything. And then, of course, once you have that, as you rightly said, an expert system-based solution, which at least, if not sickness, wellness part of it, based on commonly available herbs and spices based on the region of interest, can potentially be prescribed. It certainly cannot create harm. So I agree fully that these things would happen, and therefore there is a tremendous opportunity, whether it is in civilian space or military space, to get into human-machine teaming. And human-machine teaming is going to be a potential future. We've all seen the interesting videos of Boston Dynamics, where we've seen interesting robotic platforms dancing and jumping all around. Now, apart from the fun and tomfoolery, it's actually showing a glimpse of the future. So in my judgment, that's the future. And of course, this is not an occasion to talk about warfare. We're peace-loving people. So I would more focus on that the technologies, once you get into that teaming, that would be the crux of how things would happen. Because machines can be made to get into envelopes that are beyond the capability to handle, be handled by humans. Say, for example, you are from you're a former Air Force officer. So the envelope of a fighter aircraft can be way beyond what humans can tolerate. So now if you need to have a squadron, a fighter squadron of the future could involve traditional fighter aircraft with human pilots teamed with fighter aircraft which are pilotless, as an example of man-machine teaming. So man-machine, human-machine teaming would be an important aspect in every aspect of life in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Rituraj. I think just to repeat the question for Mr. Subrahmanyam, it's about accountability.
First of all, thank you for that question. Who is accountable in the entire healthcare system? There are multiple stakeholders. Ultimately, at the end of the day, patient needs to have trust. Whom you trust more. So today, what happens is basically is that you trust the doctor because he has a certificate behind it. Nothing more, nothing less. Am I right or wrong? He is certified by the university like XIME. So do I get a certificate for the artificial intelligence? That is called the FDA in USA. If they certify that this particular product can be used for the clinical purposes, or similarly in our Indian world, there is a regulatory body. They give you a certificate that this can be used for clinical purposes. So we need to trust somebody. And then based on the clinical trials and then clinical outputs, the acceptance by the patients, then the accountability gets built in. First the technology, then only the regulator will understand, because these are all continuously evolving things. Regulator does not know, has no clue that this is the technology and this is how we have to certify that. They are also learning, and we as ecosystem, the universities, the industries, and the society has to evolve in giving these kind of processes. So today, the way it is seen is that the doctor still is responsible. He can take the help of any kind of technology that comes in, but still the patient only trusts that particular person. And obviously, he will use all the regulatory certified products along with them, and which has a clinical outcomes. And whether we can get these things as much automated as possible, whether he can remove them, the human behind it is a long way to go, but also depends on how much these technologies really gain acceptance over a period of time. 10 years down the line, perhaps you do not require another certificate body like a human to tell you that this is the medicine. Maybe this itself is self-certified to do that. So that is where I give it. It is the human still, the doctor, for a current standpoint of the technology. And let's see how we bring in this more and more accountability to the kind of, to the technology-driven products, which will help. And then definitely one more item before I close this answer. If there is no doctor available, but I need a medicine, at least if there is a certified product there, which really gives me that saying that you take this medicine, or this is your really diagnosis, and then you have to rush to another fellow. At least to that extent, if it can save that life of the person, I think I'm more than happy that this technology at least helped in protecting that particular person. I hope I answered to a large extent.
Thank you, Mr. Subrahmanyam. Yes, you answered it very well and you explained it from a different perspective. Yes, thank you. Next question, anyone? Yes, please.
So my question to Rituraj sir. Sir, you're talking about cognitive capabilities and machine learning. What is your take on singularity in that case?
The notion of singularity, the way it is defined, assumes that singularity, if it happens, will be observable and measurable. So right now, I think the more philosophical debate is, if singularity as a concept, can it ever be observed? Because singularity assumes that human intelligence is going to be static and machine intelligence is going to grow up, and therefore there is a point of intersection. But if technology and human intellect are in a co-evolution, then it's not very clear how are you going to really observe it. So therefore, this is an aspect that is sufficiently reported in academic literature, not in the mainstream sciences, but more in the context of social sciences. And you can refer to that. So singularity's observability is still not, is an undecided problem. May have already occurred in the past, you don't know.
Thank you. We have time for a couple more questions. Yes.
My question is to Dr. Rituraj Kumar.
Yes, sir.
Sir, I observe that most of the debate is centered around how to take care of these challenges rather than opportunities. So you are working for the government, and this how this AI can be leveraged for the benefit of the largest social good. For example, the financial markets. I think this AI technology can eliminate the fraud and other manipulations. I hope so. And second thing, Government of India is implementing lot of cash transfer schemes, farmers direct cash transfer to the farmers, and other financial aspects. How this technology can complement in bringing out transparency and accountability as a supplementary to other system by which the Government of India is monitoring the government schemes. Can you throw light on something, sir?
Yeah, I think you're absolutely correct, and to the extent I know, that's the intent of the government. And therefore, the large-scale population data that has been created over a period of time is being used to identify trends, is being used to identify anomalies. These things are happening across the board and will happen more and more. For the purpose of an open discussion, I'll give you an example of something that we did in the healthcare space during the time of COVID. So AI was very majorly deployed by the government during COVID. May not be that well known to the people. And my lab was amongst the forerunners. So there are a lot of things available even in public domain what we did. I'll just give a simple example because that's something I can share publicly. A lot of things that I can't. So all of us know that detection of COVID in those early days was a genuine problem. So the rapid antigen tests were not very reliable. And the other one, whatever it was called, I now even forget.
PCR.
RT-PCR. That would take minimum 48 hours. And because of the population size and the number of infections, it would typically end up taking more than 48 hours. And that was mandatory to do anything. So even your treatment protocols cannot begin without the RT-PCR result out. So you were put on to basically supporting care, but not the primary care till the RT-PCR result was out. I mean, if we can remember what happened 3 years ago. So at that time, my lab, say for example, created a system wherein you could use a chest X-ray, a standard chest X-ray, which could be done in any part of the country, even a digital X-ray, and use AI to triage whether the person has COVID or not. That's it. A chest X-ray takes about 5 minutes, and our system took another about 2 minutes. And with more than 99% accuracy, the triage was happening. The 99% accuracy was higher than the accuracy of RT-PCR tests, which was at 92%. It's another thing that its adoption was limited to major cities in the country, which is unfortunate. So I think the ability for AI to be transformative in India in the social space would depend upon education of people at large and not so much about the inability of solutions existing. The acceptability of technology is still an urban phenomenon in India. So in that sense, I think we are a little off, but by and large, AI adoption for social good is a national policy of the government, and across sectors, across departments, that's happening.
Cash payments you had, you wanted.
Not really.
That's a touchy issue. Yes, okay, thank you. No, you had a question, yes.
Thank you. Professor Ambika Zutshi, you bring a different perspective, a non-technical perspective to the discussion. I was interested in one of the comments that you made. You said generative, if I've got this right, AI is important, but you see the future with AI being strongly grounded in forecasting and prediction there. And you've got a human side of things, a sustainability sort of background. And I was wondering, could you tease out your response, to what you said there?
Sure, thank you very much. So yes, from my perspective, and not going towards the technical side, but having the conversation with my technical colleagues, I think the AI and other technologies, machine learning, deep learning, which is relying on data. And I think Dr. Murthy also talked about, connecting the past and the present, and I've done a bit of work on that. I think there is a lot of potential of big, wicked problems, as they are called, housing, sustainability, climate change, water pollution, etc., where technologies can actually help us because it can help to forecast. So I have been, and I'm sure there are other people here working on disaster management. And Australia has, recently gone through bushfires, cyclones, everything else you can think of. And during COVID, we saw the supply chain breakdown, basically. So technology became very, very important for the communication to predict as well, what materials are needed, when their material, when the material is required as well. And talking about health, and I'm switching gears in part of answer to different context, we talked about the health context a lot. And talking about, Mr. Subrahmanyam's comment about, making sure the healthcare reaches to everyone who's around, irrespective of where they are. And the hospital, we don't know in the hospitals who's going to come, how long they're going to stay as well. Yes, the hospital's data can be inputted to predict and forecast, if they're coming with these symptoms, what is the likelihood of their stay as well. And linking that technical aspect with the other aspect of, the supply chain, because I work a bit in supply chain. We did some work in supply chain mapping of the strata in Australia, stratization, because there are a lot of apartments now that are being building as well. So mapping end to end, what does it look like? Who are the key stakeholders? Where are the risks and potential benefits and opportunities? But then streamlining that with technologies such as, to some extent, blockchain as one example, where you're trying to build some level of trust. I know that still issues of privacy and other things there as well. So I think we can complement technology with the human aspect, because without the human aspect, you cannot predict. And I'm going to use, because this was something one of my medical practitioners said to me recently. I was not feeling 100%. I went and had a chat. I looked at the symptoms and they said, did you look at Google Doctor before you came here? So, we can look online, we can have telehealth, but there's also then, the real medical practitioners. There's a caution point as well, how much we, rely, and whether it is that certification aspect, that there's some level of trust and that we can bypass. So I'm not sure if that answered your question in different. Thank you.
So I have a question. So much of discussion that is happening about the opportunities and challenges connected to the AI. So my question is, in the future or sooner or later, some of the jobs will be automated, and what qualities or characteristics of humans helps them to stay relevant and rule or survive in the future?
Rule. Oh, that's a good word. Yes. Okay. I'll take the question and then I'll pass it on to my colleagues. I think if you are creative, innovative, thinking out of the box, no artificial intelligence can replace you. We are training students today to be prepared for jobs which we don't even know exist tomorrow. So 3 years, 4 years down the lane, if you say there are some jobs which students want to, we don't even know what those jobs are. So we're training them. So to answer your question specifically, be creative, be inquisitive, and be innovative. And if those are the traits, if we can train students to be, then they're job ready always. Others want to add?
It's an interesting, debatable question. Whether anybody replaces anybody. Nobody replaces anybody. So fundamentally, that is what it is. You are unique, and then you cannot be replaced. Let's put it in that way. Now, to answer specifics, I am not sure why this question keeps coming. You look at many technologies that have swept in the last decades. Talk about cloud computing. It did not replace anybody. It created thousands and millions of jobs. Internet came in. Previous generations do not know what is internet. It created millions of jobs. Mobile computing came in. Zomato, Swiggy have taken over the world and given a lot of jobs. And every technology has created millions and millions of jobs which were not previously available. Of course, yes. Does it require an individual to know these technologies to have these kind of jobs? Answer is no. You need to know how to use them. So if you can use these technologies to get a benefit of them, and I'm sure millions and millions of jobs will be created using artificial intelligence. The problems which we could not solve today, I explained few of them, and then there are many plenty of problems. These problems are the ones which are going to be addressed, and then there are many challenges will come because of that technology. And then I'm sure, be rest assured that I can tell you that one more thing is that a person will be replaced with a person knowing artificial intelligence. So that's where it is basically. So I hope millions of jobs will be created in the next decades.
So I have one question, sir. May I say?
Sorry. Oh, no, I was just going to add to that. Again, coming from the management perspective, the people management skills and the leadership, technology will never replace it. You still, whatever number of people are there in the organization, whether it's 5 or 5,000 or 500,000, you as the expert, even if you are the AI expert, Subrahmanyam sir, Rituraj sir, they still have their teams. They still have to lead their teams. And that can only happen with non-technical skills. And as another example, just to close, I had the privilege as part of a project to interview the Microsoft CIO in Australia. And we actually asked him that question because he deals with multiple stakeholders. And he said, my technical expertise is only 10%. I just know enough to communicate. I don't go into the details of the program itself. My team does that. His job is to deal with people side of it. I'll finish there. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, we don't have time for questions because Professor Bhatta has prepared the schedule so well. I don't want to upset his schedule. If you want to discuss with the panel members offline, probably you can come and have a chat with us. Thank you.
This was an extremely wonderful and engaging session, and I'm sure we'll have a lot of points to take home. Thank you, speakers, for giving us insights on the various challenges as well as opportunities when it comes to AI for different industries, be it movies, healthcare, management, or even military. Thank you for making it an interactive session, and thank you to the audience for actively participating. I would now request Father Dr. Roy Abraham, Director of XIME Bangalore, to present the token of appreciation to our esteemed speakers.